evening panel. Mostly we're talking about couples playing together at a table with other people. So how does it impact the role-playing experience at the table? And just some of the dynamics of that. To begin with, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'll let you start, ladies first.
All right, my name is Sarah. I run Gothic Panda Studios art. I do anime, D&D art. We published together an anime RPG book for making your D&D games anime style. I have a master's degree in history, which has nothing to do with what I actually do. Yeah. But it doesn't mean I'm overeducated.
And I'm the husband, Sean. That's our relationship there. And I have a doctorate in communication, so I am overeducated in many ways. And I've been involved in the role-playing environment for a number of years. We've been playing since I was 9. We've both been playing since we were kids, so we have, gosh, together like well over 60 years of role-playing experience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our claim to fame.
We're also old.
Yeah.
We've been married for almost 20 years, so that's why we can talk about it.
It'll be 19 years next month, February 4th. I know the date. I can't remember my kids' birthdays, but I remember that date, so I'm saved there.
And we've been role-playing since that first year together, so that's why we can talk about this.
Yeah, so we're mostly speaking from
still
experience. Yeah, we're still married too, so that's a positive. And gosh, I think that went down the wrong way. Fill in space. Not one chicken.
What did you choke on?
Mellow yellow. Breakfast of champions. So we do have some experience. Of course, we both are very heavily involved in gaming and the role-playing community. I've been a Mages panelist for a number of years. I've been published a couple of role-playing books. I used to write for Fantasy Flight Games, which is a lot of fun. And so we both have some relational experience. We both have some role-playing experience. We both played together as a couple for a number of years. And last year we gave a panel on good board games to play together as a couple, because there are plenty you shouldn't. You know? There are plenty you shouldn't play, period, but there are plenty you should never play with a significant other.
Yeah, they're just games that do not bring out the best in anyone.
No. Monopoly! And so, she loves it. But still, and so we actually had some questions about role-playing as couples. We thought, all right, well, shoot, we'll do a panel on that. So that was kind of what we decided to do with this panel. So here is a panel overview. I'll let you kind of talk about give a brief glimpse into our topics here. So what are we going to talk about?
So what we're going to talk about today are these topics here. We're going to talk about what happens when you're really passionate about role-playing, but your partner does not play. But you
Or
kind of
has
want
never
to,
played.
Yeah, or has never played, doesn't know what it is, but you would like to share this with them. Like, what are some tips for that? Role-playing as a couple when you're playing together, and a couple of different scenarios there and ways that can play out. And then we're also going to look at if you're playing a game with someone else who's a couple, and the pros and cons of that.
So the good ones and that couple. And we all know who that couple is. Right.
And then we'll open it up for Q&A.
So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. So let's dive right into this topic here and look at what it means to introduce your significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, or even spouse to role-playing. So you role-played for a while, and you're like, I love this game, I really want them to share that with me and enjoy that with me. And they look at you and go, I'm not really sure. Isn't that Satan? Right? And we're going to be primarily talking about Dungeons and Dragons in this panel, and that's kind of where we're beginning. But you can kind of apply this to other role-playing games as well, right? And keep in mind, we are not like marriage counselors, and so our advice is based on our experience. You're all unique. Your relationships are unique. And whether or not these things are going to have a negative or positive impact on your relationship, I promise nothing. D&D may or may not save your relationship. I promise nothing.
Yeah, it's going to come down to communication. Communication with your significant other, what they're concerned about, like why they might not want to do it. Talk to them. But one of our first things is to start slow. Don't sit there and hammer this into them and like jump out of trash cans or something or out of mailboxes and go, hey, we're going to do this. Come on.
I mean, seriously, those role-playing books are thick, right? And when you pull that out and go, these are the rules, they're going to look at you and go, can't we just like play poker or something? I know the rules of that, but Monopoly? No! No. But still, starting slow, sometimes it's great to just play a one-on-one game with them, right? Not bringing them into a group where everybody's been playing for like 15 years, they all know the rules well, they all know their dynamic well, and you're just throwing them in the mix. Ooh, that's intimidating, right? But starting slow, playing a one-on-one game, there are plenty of little fun adventures out there that you can download off the internet if you're really unsure about creating one of your own.
Actually, that was one of the first things we did when we started role-playing together is I had some old 2nd edition modules, and they were designed for one-shots for a specific class, for fighter, wizard, whatever, and we took turns running one or the other through one of them.
Yeah. Well, I do
And
game master.
that's actually a thing you can do as just a couple is enjoy the game together.
So that was fun. There are differences, and this is where the different role-playing games come into play. There are easy role-playing games with, easy to get into, and then there are the uber hard ones. Anybody just shout out, what are some of the hardest role-playing games you've ever played? Shadowrun. Oh yeah.
AD&D.
AD&D?
Yeah, that
Traveler.
Thaco. Yes, I do know how to do that.
That's showing our age.
That's showing our age. That's how you know somebody's been playing for a while. Can you calculate Thaco, or even tell us what the acronym means?
2-hit armor class 0.
2-hit AC 0. That's right. Back when they had, they were still calling from wargaming, I think then. But yeah, there are some games that are really great. There are some role-playing games that are like 1-sheet, 2-sheet games that require very little.
Simple rules, simple mechanics.
Simple mechanics. Rim and Scott love to recommend Lady Blackbird. I think that's in every single one of their panels. And the rulebook on that's really thin. There are some easy ones, but don't throw them into your Shadowrun campaign right off the bat, unless they're really up for a challenge. Secondly, look at what potentially their fandoms are. So if they're really into, like, say, Middle Earth, they love Lord of the Rings. There's a Middle Earth board game, or role-playing game.
Yeah, role-playing game.
Role-playing game.
Yeah,
We just got the book.
Yeah, for that one, so there's a new Middle Earth RPG out, and I guess the newest D20 system. Have not looked at the rulebook yet, but it's pretty covered.
They into anime? There's a Sailor Moon one. Have you played it? Yeah, so have I. It's fun.
I saw them out. There was a Slayers RPG.
It was the Slayers one.
Yep.
Yeah. There's even Dragon Ball Z. If they're into that.
Yeah, and then they've got Ghostbusters RPGs. I'm like pretty sure they have RPGs for every major fandom, and even a few of the minor ones out there.
I mean, I know there's at least a dozen Pokemon RPGs. I mean, there's Pokethulu. No, seriously, or no, it's Pikathulu, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah.
So there are RPG books, if you can think about it, they exist. And so finding something they're already familiar with, so they love, Firefly,
Google is your friend. Google it, I'm sure it's out there.
use that as a bridge to kind of say, okay, you're familiar with the environment, you're familiar with the characters, you're familiar with the settings, let's go. Another good suggestion here is just to let them observe a game. I don't know how this may or may not work, but it's sometimes fun for them to just kind of come in and lurk while you play a game. I don't know how comfortable you may feel with that, but...
Well, I mean, we talked to one gentleman right before this panel who said that his wife was nervous about playing because she thought she was the one that was supposed to come up with the story of what happened when she went into the cave or something. And then...
He's like, oh, no.
No, actually, that's the DM's job. And she was like, oh. Because he just didn't understand what the game was really about. So in that case, just seeing what it really is about might help.
Another thing is to find a mentor. Some people are really, really good about teaching D&D. I mean, some people are. Some people naturally are just really great about introducing new players and making them feel comfortable and really guiding them and saying, oh, well, this is where you want to kind of think about, here, what would you like to do? And not really railroading them into a particular character or a particular direction, but giving them the freedom to explore while at the same time giving them guidance. I know you told me you were glad that you knew how to play before me, because I shouldn't teach you.
Yeah, I don't learn well from him.
Yeah. I tried to teach her Photoshop one time. That was bad. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, so the really funny thing is, he's a professor.
I'm a professor. I teach professionally.
Yeah, he teaches Photoshop professionally as a living. I have learned off of various tutorials. I know how to hit hotkeys. I don't know what I'm doing, but it does what I want it to do. And when I make art, and
I tried teaching her masking.
I'm like, I hit Control-Alt-G and it masks what I want to. I don't know what that mask is called. I don't really care. And I don't have the patience to sit down with them for it. So, but we know that. So it's like, honestly, mentoring for me would be better from somebody that's not him. But that comes down to communication and knowing each other and their personalities and the personalities of the people you play with.
Right. Knowing their learning style is very helpful, because they may not like the way you teach, because they may feel like you're talking down to them. So finding a good mentor is sometimes a good, helpful trick. Going to conventions like this one, just drag them along. This is a great way to help them explore the world, see what's going on, see other people who are playing. Conventions like this, coming to panels like this one. How many of you have never played a role-playing game? You got one? All right, you're recording. Oh, wait, two. Okay, sweet. So, welcome. And I hope you get a chance to experience that kind of gameplay. So the rest of you play in some form or fashion. All right, good. Excellent. And then, if they really, really are resistant, I hate to quote Elsa, but it's accurate, just let it go. Don't force an issue, because that's just going to really be bad for both of you. I know one couple, he came to the game with his spouse fully thinking she was going to come and play, and she told him flat out, hell no. And they had a little discussion about expectations in front of the rest of us. It wasn't too bad. It really wasn't. But I imagine they had a longer one later. Because it was, you could tell by his expression, he fully thought she was going to play.
Yeah, he was pretty disappointed,
But he let it go, and he enjoyed himself, and then we have not seen him since. So sometimes letting it go is the way to go. Because even though you have a great passion for the game,
it really just may not be your partner's thing.
and that's okay, right?
Because not everybody is going to love role-playing.
No. She loves to sew. I won't touch it. I'm sorry. I'd sew my hand with it. Oh, no. I tried one time and I broke the machine. I did. I was trying to surprise her with a cloak, and I'm like, I'm going to make this cloak, and I broke the machine. I had to go to my mom. It's like, we're trying to make this run away, can you help me?
Yeah, she's right, the machines do break regularly on their own, so they're, especially if you have a cheap Walmart one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very reliable.
Anything else you want to say about this? Nope. All right. Role-playing as a couple.
And since most of you already role-play, I think this is probably what you
Probably
need
where
for.
you're going to be fitting in here. Okay. So, I've been dominating this. Go.
All right, so playing together as a couple gives you the opportunity to do some really fun, just engaged role-playing together. One way you can do that is to start out as your base characters, where you don't know each other, but during the course of the game, you're going to meet, you're going to flirt, you're going to have that first date, and you can do some really fun role-playing with that. Is fantasy role-playing world, or some other world, you can do some really fun things like break into the mayor's manor house, go to the roof, and watch the sunrise. I mean, things that you wouldn't do in real life.
That's a cool date. I mean, really.
Yeah.
It kind of is, because we've played for so many campaigns, so many different adventures, and so we played one set of characters that we did not intend for them to become a couple, but they started flirting. It's just the way their
And
character
by the
was.
end, they were stealing the silverware together from their own, banquet of honor.
Yeah.
For Santa.
They were both thieves. I was playing a con artist. You were playing a.
I was playing a dual-class cleric thief in 2nd edition, following the god of wealth, relocating it to me, and that's how I received blessing.
I love that character though, because I had everyone convinced I was a mage, but I was really a bard. I did one spell, and they never questioned me. This went on for like a year and a half. It was hilarious. And they're like, "You're a bard?" Yeah, just because I'm not singing. And I only cast one spell.
His performance was in line.
That was it. It was great. It was great. Okay, so that's a couple that has not met. That's one situation. And then you could, of course, play an established couple. Riverwind and Goldmoon. Riverwind and Goldmoon.
From the Dragonlance Chronicle setting. I mean, you could start out as an engaged couple, a married couple, something like that, and tell their story. We've done that a couple times. He played the archetypal evil overlord named Evil. I played the archetypal magical girl named Magic, inspired by Sailor Moon, so she had 7 intelligence. And he was reformed because we were married, and I was also his therapist, teaching him how to be a good person.
You mean I can't torture them to the answer? To give me? No, I can't? Oh,
No,
darn.
no, that's not what you do.
That's not what you
This
do.
is how you do this.
Can I fillet them alive?
No.
Yeah, fillet them. Alive.
Because our goal is to keep them alive.
Oh, really? Why? Yeah. So we
Because
had a lot of
that's
fun
the
with
good
that.
thing to do.
Because at one point in time, she got kidnapped and I started reverting back to evil.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Because really, he was only being good for my character. And she was just really stupid and didn't notice that. That was actually an example of a really toxic relationship that
Yes,
I
it
would
was.
not recommend being in real life.
No, they were in a toxic relationship. It was hilarious.
But it was a lot of fun to play in that context. And I played this one character that was engaged to his character, but he was dead.
Yeah.
And when we went back to play it, it actually ended up being this whole dramatic thing where my character had gotten mad at the party and walked off. And the result was he had died right up before that. There happened to be some ghost touch armor, so we DM arranged it so his ghost would attach to the armor. This was several years before Full Metal Alchemist, but it was kind of like that thing. And so he got to keep playing, but I didn't know that at that time. And so I left off with the whole party white. So like when we went to the next round of that story, she would never talk about their backstory. Like, I'm just not talking about it. It's really not.
Well, it also gave them a goal.
But then our goal was to find a way to get this true resurrection spell to get him back in his body, and then they could, finally get married and go off and do their thing.
So that was a fun adventure.
So I mean, you can have some really fun creative role playing with this. In a way that also makes you more invested with the character, because what happens when your fiance dies? It's not as easy to just write them out of the story. Okay, go roll a new character. And I'm like, well, I have a problem with that.
Now your character impacts other characters in the party, so it's not like you can do that whole, schizophrenic new character every week thing. It's like, but if you're engaged to that character, what happens to them? Oh, I killed them. They're boring. No. You're a little more invested in it and creates some kind of intergroup drama, which is kind of fun.
I mean, if you are the type that likes to change characters every week, you might not want to try doing this because you might frustrate your partner.
Thoroughly. Okay, so what about, we're still on the same track. What about playing together, but you're not a couple?
So your character.
Yeah, your characters aren't a couple.
got two people at the table with an emotional investment in each other, how are they going to perceive one or the other going out and seducing other NPCs or flirting with the other players? Is
Because
that going to be
technically their
awkward?
character's single. Right?
So, I mean,
Hot
it's,
elf is not going to just sit around and do nothing all day.
I mean, but is that going to make you uncomfortable or one of you uncomfortable? Because you are emotionally invested, that does lead to irrationality
Yeah.
on some level.
It could. It could. I mean,
Again, communicate. If that's how you like to play, you might want to talk to them about it beforehand.
yeah. If
Or
your
if-
character, if you're playing a Don Juan, and you're sitting there, you've got others watching you try to seduce a dragon, how are they going to feel? Are they going to be able to separate that? Are you going to be able to separate that? So,
I mean, it's something that, you know, a lot of people do in the games and stuff like that, so, but when you add the emotional element of a relationship, and that, it's going to change that dynamic a little bit.
so it's really, I think, for this particular thing, I don't think it's, you can't do it. I don't see why not. But at the same time, maybe talking with your partner a little bit before or after. By the way, did this make you feel uncomfortable? Are you okay with this?
I mean, that's just good relationship advice, communicating, talking with each other, checking in with them, making sure you're not stepping on their toes and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because that's part of being in a healthy relationship. That's how you stay married for about 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, we
We get on each other's nerves all the time, but you have
We
to
do.
learn how to work through it.
yeah. As I like to tell people, whenever you're in a relationship, you're going to fight. You are. It's just how things are. But how you handle that fight is whether you stay together or end up on the evening news. You know? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Again, that's not, we're not relationship counselors or anything like that. We're just speaking from experience and what we've observed. But we have observed couples where one has been the Don Juan, and you can tell the other one wasn't too keen on that in terms of how they were looking at the other one every time they tried to seduce the dragon. You know? So being mindful.
But, and, I mean, that's the big thing of this, but, I mean, you can also go back to what we were talking about with the other thing, the previous section, is that there are a lot of different ways to have fun role-playing, even if you aren't playing an actual couple. You can create fun professional relationships, because really, aside from communicating, our other message for this is just have fun,
Yeah.
keep it fun.
Don't be
and-
that couple. That's our key thing here. Don't be that couple.
Because role-playing really opens up a lot of opportunities for fun. So an example of a fun relationship you could have that's not actually a dating relationship, but it's still really fun and engaging to play. We played a Marvel campaign a while back, and I was playing a teenage fire-based character that had impulse issues. And he was playing the lawyer that was doing damage control.
Basically, I was behind her assessing all the collateral
Yeah, damage.
damage she was doing and making excuses for people. And saying,
writing
"Don't
insurance
take this,"
policies
writing
and stuff.
insurance policies and stuff. That was a weird character to play.
And
It was
his
fun.
powers were based on paper, and yeah, and I was just 16-year-old not dealing with puberty very well.
So I was basically her like caseworker, you know. So
But it was a
interesting.
lot of fun trying to role play that out in a different situation, and that's what makes it fun. And because we live together and do these things, we can develop these kind of character relationships and plan that out and have a lot of fun with it.
Or friendships, that kind of thing. So you can have some other kind of relationship with that person apart from a romantic relationship, as within the game, playing with it. Okay. Our next key point here is okay. What if one of you is the dungeon master or game master? Typically in our games, I have defaulted to being the game master or dungeon master.
Yeah, the standard, he's willing to do it.
I'm willing to
Nobody
do
else
it.
wants
And I've got a big mouth, if you can't tell. And so I'm often the dungeon master, and so she's often one of my players, and so are others in the party here. And so when this isn't a problem if you're like, you know, just playing one-on-one. When you got others in that dynamic, how does that impact the table, right? And so one of the key things that of course, we've got to confront the elephant in the room is favoritism.
Yeah, real and perceived.
Real and perceived. So what does favoritism look like? Well, it can look like fudged rolls, extra attention.
Just extra opportunities going, well, you wouldn't have let me do that, why are you letting them do that? Because, I mean, this is something that you get when, actually it can apply if you're playing with a couple that's dating the DM, or one of you is dating the DM. And how do your other players perceive that? Because this is still about keeping it fun.
For everybody, not just you two, right? So you don't want to be spending the whole time talking with them or building up their backstory, or at the same time, you don't want to do the reverse thing, which is like reverse favoritism, where you actively punish them at the table in order to show that you're not being favoritism, or you're showing favoritism to them. So you're like being really overly cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. Just don't.
That won't go over well. And then there's also the perceived reverse favoritism. Do they think you're
being cruel to them? No. I have to roll in front of everybody just to show, because I'm good at rolling. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, you got credit. You're just doing that because you're mad at me from yesterday. But no, it's the dice. Hide the DM screen, right? Just to show that it's not me. But then again, also you have the DM screen, so you want to fudge the rolls sometimes for other players too. So it's a really delicate balance. I mean, DMing, when there are relationships at play, I mean, it's challenging in any way, right? And so I'm sure you guys have some stories too about this one. Yeah. Anything else we want to say about dating the DM?
I mean, we don't necessarily have any advice for overcoming this directly, because when we were trying to put together this panel, when we were looking at it, there are so many different dynamics to consider when you're trying to offer that kind of advice.
I mean, have I ever shown you favoritism?
I don't think so, but I can think of situations where you should have.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, it depends on the dynamics of your group, your game, the people you're playing with. I mean, our group, I don't think we've ever had a lot of direct problems with this.
They keep coming back, so I guess things are working out.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing with the same group roughly we've been playing with since 2000.
Yeah. We've been playing a lot.
I mean, some have been in or out, but a lot of that has to do with more moves and job relocation and stuff like that than actual
growing up
drama.
sucks. It really does. You know, jobs, adulting. Ugh. But anyways.
Don't know why I ever wanted to be an adult. It sucks.
I never did. I couldn't find beer. I love it. Anyway. Okay. Now comes an interesting thing. Nope, wrong one. We're not getting there yet. I don't have a slide for this. Co-DM.
Okay, so that is a challenge in and of itself. So you're putting two people together and trying to get them to run the game together.
What if you were also married or dating that co-DM?
But that can be really fun and rewarding. We've done this twice now. We did this once in the past. In that case, the way we managed it is he was the primary dungeon master. I was a secondary one. It was back during a time where I really didn't have time to engage and play with the game because I was preparing for a ton of artist alley tables and was really behind. And so I was spending most of my time working on that. But what we did is we built games where the group was actually intentionally decided to be split. We're splitting the group. Okay, you've got to infiltrate this fortress, but this one group is going to have to go over here
and unlock the gate.
And unlock this gate, so this other group can go through and turn off this alarm system over here.
And this is a Spelljammer campaign.
And this was a Spelljammer campaign, so we gave them a communication device where they had, like, I think we said about 3 minutes of actual airtime, where they could call in and communicate with the other team. But you had 3 minutes, so you had to keep it short and sweet.
They did.
And we were able to text back and forth, use technology, and go, okay, they're going to hear this loud explosion, and they're not going to know why. well, was the other group just caught because they were supposed to be quiet, or did they just give up being quiet? Or, you don't know, but that adds suspense for the two different groups playing, and then what they each do impacts the other group. So that actually made for a really fun dynamic.
It did.
That wouldn't have worked if we hadn't had two DMs.
And so we're trying co-DMing it again this time, but this time we're doing it a little more 50-50 kind of even split.
Yeah, this time we're doing a lot of writing the game together, and that's actually been a lot of fun. And I think we've ended up with a campaign that is a lot more interesting than what would have happened if just one of us had written it, because, you know, two heads, we each have different ideas and incorporate different. He comes up with things I just wouldn't have thought of that are really cool.
And likewise, she's come up with some great ideas too. And we do have different gaming styles. I mean, we do. I mean, DMing styles were very different.
Yeah, he's all about the climactic end battle, and I'm all about the narrative along the way.
I mean, I'm pretty good at, you know, dramas and mysteries and plot, but where I really love to excel is weird NPCs and unique situations and creating climactic fights where it's not just I attack for 20 minutes. You know, I want the ships involved. You know, let's mix things up. But at the same time, you tend to like more the role-playing elements, inter-party role-playing, that kind of thing. And so, building on each other's strengths.
Actually building on other players' backstories, taking that and integrating it solidly into our campaign, because I like to see everyone's story being told at the table.
And I'll admit, I tend to ignore backstory. Sorry. I'm just sorry.
See, I like to think that with the two of us together, we're actually creating something much better than it would have been because of our different interests. But one way that has actually manifested in really positive ways when we do get in combat, rather than having this really long turn where you're waiting for the DM to roll out all the monsters, attacks, and stuff like that, we can have one of us actually running the table while the other one actually just rolls the dice and resolves everything, and it makes everything move a lot more efficiently and effectively. So I keep track of player movement on the table and who's attacking who and doing what.
And I just gotta roll dice and say hit, no, hit, no, hit, no. That way you're not trying to shift back and forth between those two.
I mean, our group does prefer it when he manages and I roll the dice, because my average rolls are about 4. I really suck at rolling a d20, and he crits a lot.
Yeah, I crit a lot. A lot. Which is not a good trait for a DM, I know. But and I tend not to fudge the rolls.
Or it works really well if you need to pull a player aside for something, like in the very last game we ran last weekend. One of our players actually got captured and taken off to the dungeon prison area of this larger dungeon area we're in. And he was able to take that player aside and run through what was going on in that area while I kept the rest of the group going.
It was
so there was
great.
No downtime where you're like,
that character escaped just in time to watch the rest of the group get captured.
And so like, we ended with them hit that one guy who actually went in and rescued some of the people we were there to rescue in the first place. Watch our group hogtied on on poles getting carried off to the dungeon. And we're like, well, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But let's say you have a character who understands a particular language that the others don't, or notices something that the others don't. You gotta, when you're you're by yourself, you just gotta pull that player aside. Everyone else is sitting there playing on their phones while they wait for you to finish. With co-DM, you don't have to do that, right? She can keep running the game. I can pull that player aside, give them the information they need, and then shove them right back in. And there's none of that lapse between that. And so that's a cool thing for co-DMing anyways.
Yeah, and it can keep the game going, which is fun for everybody. And it actually, you can maintain more disbelief, because as a DM, your option is there, okay, you're going to tell them what's happening in front of everyone and just hope they pretend they don't know it really well. But I don't.
All right. So moving on to our next topic here, and it's great segues. Playing with a couple. And there are 3 different types of couples you're going to encounter. The first are the lovebirds. This is the couple that comes to your game and they just met, and they've just started dating, or they've known each other well and they've just started dating, and they are so infatuated with each other that they only have eyes for one another, right? And we know this couple. We all know this couple. Actually, this is a fun picture, and I show this picture because this was our cats. Both of these cats have passed away, but a few years ago we had a couple come to our game, and they were on one of the chairs nearby just making out. I mean, they were just going at it. And our cats crawled up in the chair next to them and started imitating them.
So they turned each other and started licking each other's faces.
It was hilarious. We took a picture of the cats, not them, but it was so funny.
It was, yeah, those two cats. Really, really funny. But yeah. So what do you do with that couple? I mean, they're clearly not engaged in your game, which is annoying.
There's a lot of PDA going on usually.
And maybe that makes you uncomfortable.
Or your other player's uncomfortable. Well, there are some good things you can do to them, or if you feel mean, there are some things you can do to them. So if you want to, I mean, in all honesty...
I think we settled for just laughing a lot and teasing them mercilessly.
Well, we did that. Yeah. I mean, we're just...
I mean, even our cats were mocking them.
Yeah. I just thought it looked like a cool idea. I'm not sure which. Which was hilarious because these two cats are brother and sister. I know. That made it even funnier. But still, I mean, basically they're NPCs. They are AFK in your game.
Yeah, functionally they have taken on the role of AFK NPC players.
So you could treat them as if they're not there, right? And just take over their characters or use their characters for cannon fodder.
Yeah, whatever you do with absentee players.
You know, whatever you do with absentee players is probably the best. I mean, generally speaking, this is a harmless couple. They probably need, you know, within a week or two, they'll get over it and they'll be back fine. But at the moment, all they can do is really think about each other. And for the most part, they're fine. We can ignore them.
Yeah, I mean, you can have fun with it. If you know them really well and know you're not going to really ruin your friendship or piss them off hardly, you can do fun things to their character. Going, oh, look, they want a sacrifice. Hey, who wants to volunteer for a sacrifice?
John's character does. All right.
Back corner. Let's do that.
All right. Or you switch seats, or you mess with their stats when they're not looking. Have fun with them. Then you have the neutral couple. This is the fun couple. This is the couple that's they've been together for a while. They're really fun to play with. They're fun to work with.
Or if they haven't, they're at least more adult about it.
Or at least they're more adult about it. They save their PDA for when you guys leave, kind of thing. So the neutral couple, they're like other players. It's just good to work with them. But then you have the toxic couple. This is the couple that they're in a bad relationship and they're taking it out in the game. We've all been there, right?
Yeah.
So some of you are nodding your heads, others are going, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Yes, it's a thing.
Yes, it will ruin. They ruin each other's fun, they ruin your fun. It really sucks to be around them.
Especially if one of them's the dungeon master. And it gets even worse. But yeah, we've played with one couple that were not on good terms with each other, and he was mercilessly heckling everything she did. But that's how my character would do it. That was his excuse. I'm like, no, you just pissed at her and you're taking it out of the game. And this is ruining the fun for everybody because you're making it very clear you're not in a good relationship and not in a good place, and you're hurting each other in front of us by proxy. That's toxic. What do you do with this couple? You got some ideas? Kick them out, boot them,
Yeah,
pull them aside.
Pull them aside and basically tell them until you fix this, don't come back.
Yeah. Don't try to fix their problem.
There is the direct blunt route. Like,
Yeah, you're not, unless you're a therapist, I know I'm not. Don't go, hey, what's going on? What's wrong with you two? What can we do to help? You just opened a bag of worms right there.
Give them a card for marriage counselor.
Yeah, give them a card for a marriage counselor, or, couple
I mean,
therapist or
you don't have to
something.
be super blunt about it, but you can go, I noticed that you might have some issues.
No, I'm just playing your character. No, you're not.
No.
Sorry, you're making it really uncomfortable for
And just
everyone.
basically, it's communication again, and sometimes you've got to have these not fun, awkward conversations going, look, you're good friends, but this is not gold.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I hate to say it, but game masters, generally, this is your job. Because you're in charge of the game.
Okay, it could be game masters or the hosts.
Or the host. Or the host, if they're not the game masters. The host can certainly step
Because
in.
we tend to be the ones hosting the games and we aren't always DMing.
No.
So sometimes it is another one of our friends doing it and they could do it, or I feel like since we're hosting the game and they're all at our place, we actually have that right to step into.
Now with that particular
Or obligation.
couple that we had, we were actually running 2 games at the time.
Because we had about 12
So we had
players.
12 players.
We had split up.
So we split them.
We don't like turning people away
No. And so that's how we managed that particular situation.
for a little while.
For-
We just put them, we took him out of her group because she was running one game and he was, there was another guy running another one. We put him in the other game.
And that helped.
It helped a little bit.
Yeah. It didn't fix everything, because man, those 2 still had problems for a while. And eventually, she stopped coming. Yeah, but
That's a long time ago.
yeah, a long time ago. But that's beside the point. The toxic couple, they can ruin the fun for everybody because they make it awkward. They really do. And if you are that toxic couple, it takes I honestly think it does take some self-evaluation before you realize sometimes you're not aware of it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to kind of take them aside and say, listen, what you're doing is not okay. Because sometimes they're just thinking, oh, well, I'm just playing. It's a game, but at the same time, this is a social game with real people.
Yeah, and maybe they just need to take a break.
Yeah.
Step back from the game until they either work it out, split up, and figure out how to be just friends, or one of them is just not going to keep coming to your game, which kind of sucks, especially if you're friends with both of them. But
Yeah, because you don't want to have to choose sides.
it just does not work.
But it puts you in an awkward position. It really does. Okay, so those are the things that we thought would be important to address, the kind of dynamics that might occur and how it might impact the table. But we know there's so much more to talk about here in this topic. We're going to open things up for Q&A. So do we have any questions? And you're welcome to, I'll tell you, I'll just repeat the question, if you don't mind, so that those in the back, you don't have to come up and play with this microphone. So go ahead, what's your question?
I was thinking that another part of the dynamic depends on people's separation from the characters. Like some people work on some issues they're having, some people are just, hey, I think this is kind of cool. But I feel like part of it can come down to your separation.
Because there are varying, I agree. So the question, it wasn't really a question, it was more a comment. And I think you've got a great point here, is that you have varying, I think, degrees of people who role play. And some are really great at separating their real personality from their character. And others are not. Others play the same character every time.
Or some people are actually kind of trying to vicariously live out all the weird things they want to do or inappropriate things they want to do through their character.
Yeah.
But they don't want to go to jail.
And so that can,
I mean,
and if you are one of those people, let your partner know that, by the way, this fun game, I'm going to be a bit of an asshole. Really? You're not normally? No. What? Okay. Go ahead. You picked. You were going first.
I think she was first.
What do you do with people that aren't exactly couple? Like, I guess like what I call it unrequited, like love. Like they clearly like each other. They haven't made that next step, so they kind of, and they're also like heavy role players, so they kind of seep that into the game, and it's just like, okay, well everyone, because our group is kind of good, so it's like, okay, well we want to do stuff, but you guys kind of like dominate.
So the question is, what do you do with a couple that are not a couple, but clearly one or maybe even both of them are thinking about it, and so they're testing the waters within the game? Is that kind of what you were saying?
Yeah, kind of like you can obviously tell.
But their story is starting to really take over and dominate the time in the game.
Kind of like out of character, like they kind of have characters that shouldn't really gel, but yeah, they do.
They're trying to?
It just kind of kicked off, and it's just like,
I know you're a lawful good healer, and I'm a chaotic, evil barbarian, but there's a connection.
Opposites attract.
Opposites
Works for
attract.
evil and magic.
It
Yeah.
did work. That was a toxic relationship.
That was very important.
But yeah, so, and I think this is true, what do you do when players dominate the game and make it challenging for the rest of the players? groups, and now you got a pair. So in terms of their unrequited love for one another, I don't know how much you feel like playing matchmaker. I would probably just tease them mercilessly for a while, and maybe pull one or two aside and say, dude, just ask her out. Come on.
Yeah, pick it up.
Pick it up. Go. Ask.
Yeah.
But that's me.
But then that also ties into general dungeon mastering challenges, because you do have to make sure all players are having their fun and managing that situation. Like, okay, I need you guys to back off for a second. What are you guys doing?
And so that's a good DM kind of skill and advice to learn. It's something you develop over time. It is the best way to manage the table in terms of who's talking. Because if you're the DM, you get to choose. Shut up. Next. Right? But you don't want to do that. You're like, okay, great. Moving on. Just
Right.
interrupt it.
My question is, I'm assuming you had experience role-playing before you became a couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you notice your stories or the gaming dynamic change in terms of how you played? Married 35 years. I introduced my wife to the gaming. We've played for a long time. And one of the things I noticed is that, well, social interaction became higher. We're actually like 3 couples playing. So there was actually more, we actually had equal representation of men and women in the group because of that. And we saw, like most games would be just, oh, we just gotta go beat the monster. And then I was like, no, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna work this out, and we're gonna talk. And there was a lot more of that going on.
We're going to negotiate peace between these kobold clans.
Well, all of a sudden backstories become.
Backstories become
and
more.
all that kind of stuff. And I was just wondering if that's something you have experienced.
Okay, so the question was,
When we started
When we
playing
started-
together, did that change the dynamics of how we played?
I would say yes, most definitely.
And I would actually say when we first started playing together, it was actually a little awkward and nerve-wracking. I'm kind of glad we started with the one-on-one one-shots, because I felt like, what if because we never actually played together before that. I played with a different group, and he had played with a different group. So this was like our first time actually playing together.
We got married before actually playing together. So.
Yeah. So it was actually, I felt really actually uncomfortable role-playing with him for the first time, because I felt like I didn't want him to think I was stupid or anything like that. It's like, well, what if I don't play the way he does and I'm not doing it right or something? Like, because it's how I thought. We were just married. I mean, we were one of those we only dated for 3 months before we got married, and we had an engagement period of like 2 weeks. Because sometimes you just know this is the person you want to be with. But at the same time, there were still some of those awkward communication moments we had not had.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, when do you want to get married? Oh, maybe in 6 months, 8 months, a year? No, next week. What?
Well, it was more
Let's
like
go
we
now.
were arguing. It's like, do we have to really wait till we're both graduated from college? You're done. I think we should go ahead and get married. And I won the fight. Clearly.
Well, her argument was primarily I would kill my mother if we drove this out.
Yeah, my mom and I, 2 weeks of engagement and planning the wedding, we still had one blowout fight over bows on the front pews. I'm like, who the freak cares? I don't. Why is this even a big deal?
But yeah, no, it did. I'll admit, when I roleplayed before, I tended to play the destructive loon character. That my goal was to cause havoc in every game. And as
You still do that.
and I still do that a little bit, because the loon is still my default kind of character I like to play. But at the same time, I started exploring other avenues, other types of roleplaying, and actually had a lot more fun afterwards. So I would say it really broadened my horizon on what I could do.
Honestly, I would say some of the characters we've played together, like Evil and Magic, or the couple where the guy ended up in the empty suit of plate mail armor, ghost duct armor, they've made for more memorable stories and tales than just our random characters that we've had. And they've actually made for some really fun experiences and memories with us. So it's changed how we played, and it's been a good thing.
I saw a hand over here. The
Want to share? Yes.
I wanted to flip the framework.
Okay.
We're in a group right now where DM is happily married, has a new baby, super fun life. We're a couple and we're playing with another couple, and we have one individual who is like the aggressively single dude. And so I do feel responsible or am very keen to continue to incorporate this player and make sure that they don't feel alienated. Because like, here's an example. We just got like a shit ton of gold. This is recorded. I apologize. We got a lot of gold and we went to a big town and we bought a bunch of stuff and we're like, I'm gonna get this and this other thing and this is gonna work really well for our classes. And the person was like, I'm good. Like, so we just had this whole moment together as a party, and they just didn't participate. And I think it's because the two couples are like thinking about how their classes are working together. We're thinking about it, and I feel like we're leaving our friend in the dust.
So you've got teens, and then you've got the.
Yeah, they're also the brother-in-law. So like, we're obligated to make sure that they are incorporated.
So what's the question?
Like how?
Basically, she's asking about a group where they're playing with, like, I believe 2 couples, and then there's 1 single person.
Yeah.
And the couples are having these really engaged they're playing together in a really engaged way. They've got these fun stories going, and then you have the other person.
So this is what I would do. If I were the game master, I would be asking that player, what's your character's goals? What is it you want to see this character doing? And finding some way to incorporate that in the overall game story. So I think, although I tend to ignore backstory, in this particular situation, I think it would actually be a wise thing to talk about.
Yeah, that would be a great way. I mean, find why they're playing, what they want to play for, what their character's goals for, and specifically engage that in the story.
And some players, and this is the thing, everybody comes to role-playing with goals, and they enjoy different things about it. There are some people that they love to just come and watch us play. We have some friends, they don't like playing. They just like watching us play.
I don't understand that.
I did not understand this for a long time, and the internet kind of showed me that this is a thing. You know?
Because I would find that incredibly boring, because I prefer to participate in whatever's going on.
And so different players will come to a game with different desires, different expectations, and maybe they just want to be with you guys. You know?
And that's actually all they need.
And that's all they need.
And maybe like you're perceiving that they're not enjoying it, and just because they stepped back because they did what they wanted and they were done.
Yeah.
And that's okay with them, maybe.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know. So I don't know this individual, but this would be a great opportunity to talk to him about.
Or just go, hey, I want to make sure you're having fun too. Is there anything we can do to help you with that? Or what are you looking for in the game?
Yeah, because I mean, it can, I'm thinking back way when I was single, and I actually went out and hung out with couples. Sometimes being the third wheel sucks. Or fourth wheel, or fifth wheel, or sixth wheel. It sucks. But at the same time, you know, if it's not a satisfying experience, eventually you just withdraw and pull away and you look elsewhere. So,
I mean, it may just not work out, but at the same time, it's worth trying to talk to them about and seeing. Because the point is to have fun with everybody.
Yeah, and that's the real key thing, is, at least for me as a dungeon master and for us as players, is that we want to create an experience where we're all having fun. You know, we're all engaged, we're all entertained, we're all really. And there are some days where, I mean, even though we tend to engage in some strong social interactions, where a dungeon hack is just what everybody needs.
Yeah.
We just need to kill crap.
Yeah.
Throw me some goblins. I want to kill the goblins. You know?
Adulting does that.
Adulting does that, where you're just like slipping some of the aggression from work. Yes.
And after I kill goblins, I want the town to throw a party in my house.
Yeah.
Get that recognition we don't get in real life but really deserve.
I want that validation.
That's right.
Are you with the curly hair and the glasses?
What cool like class combos you have discovered while you as a couple playing?
So of course you've got your standard fighter healer. It is a pretty strong couple team. That one works really well.
Yeah. We've done that a couple of times. Actually, that tended to be our default MMO combination for a while. I now hate healers for that reason.
I've played a few.
Yeah, I played it
But
every
then
time for
again,
like 10 years.
Yeah.
Now I hate it.
And so that's a good one. It's a healer fighter combination. I think sometimes having a good combination that we haven't really explored too much is having somebody who takes control, like a tank, followed up with a rogue, so that the tank is keeping them distracted so the rogue can do the backstabbing. You know? So that's a pretty good combo. Sometimes it's fun in terms, and those are combat combos. Sometimes it's fun to play some good social combos, or social role combos. Like we played one game of Starfinder, which was a lot of fun, where she was playing a diva.
I played an android envoy, you know, the one with the charisma penalty, but still, I was playing a real-life Vocaloid character, walking around, essentially.
And I was playing a con artist, getting her into clubs. And so I would trick them into letting her perform, she'd perform, and the rest of our party would cause havoc and kill everybody. Which, I hate to say it, that wasn't the intention, but that just seemed to be what happened each time. So that was a fun combo.
Because my character was very social. Because I wanted to play that, I had to work the stats in such a way that everything else sucked to get the charisma that I needed to actually play that. So I couldn't hit anything. I couldn't do anything.
You spent the entire...
I talked my way out of every single combat.
Behind other players.
Or actually, the fun time was when I hid behind one of the people we were fighting and convinced them they wanted to defend me. They became my meat shield. But I literally talked my way out of every situation. So it was fun.
That was fun.
His mouth also got us into a couple of those situations because he played a character with no filter.
I played a character with no filter, so that was fun too. So that was a good combo. Yeah.
Yes. Right here.
Consider.
So, kind of similar to that question, if you have a couple that likes to play those combos too well, paladin, healer,
Yeah.
how do you, then like it actually impairs what you can do. Like, I play Final Fantasy, and I have a couple that always tanks heals, so I can only guess when I play with them. Like, how do you suggest to them, hey, maybe
Branch out.
let me tank, please?
So yeah, what if you're playing with a couple and that couple has a combo that or the kind of characters they always use that works really well, and you'd like to kind of maybe mix the roles up a little bit? Was the question.
You could always try the director out and go in conversation to say, hey, I was actually thinking I'd like to try playing this class. Or ask them for suggestions, like, hey, I wanted to play a tank. Any suggestions? Or would you help me with this? And kind of turn it into something like that where they're offering advice maybe on how to play it and they might pick a different role to support you in that.
Yeah, that can be a challenge, because you do end up with people who like to play the same thing over and over again. And that's all they play. It's like, I play the rogue, I'm only the rogue, I'm only the grumpy rogue, that's all I know how to play. And getting them out of that comfort zone can be a challenge, especially. But I tend to find the people that like that, once you get them out of that comfort zone, they tend to do really well in other classes too, and they really love it.
Yeah, they might actually find that they have fun playing other things too.
Yeah.
Like, you never know.
Yeah, because it's a way of mixing the game up and making it more interesting for everyone involved. So that's just, good general, I think, DMing advice, but also...
Or even in MMOs or
or
something like
MMOs
that.
or whatever, yeah.
Any kind of role-playing game. And I think you're next, and then we'll get to you.
I just have a suggestion for people asking about class combos. The one I'm working on right now with my partner is we're doing a druid and a ranger, and we're just gonna go hang out with woods. And my druid is extremely casting focused, and the ranger is extremely combat focused, so it's kind of like the fighter healer thing. But
Fighter magic kind of thing.
Yeah.
so like you can like both kind of stack something focused on the same environment in different ways, and then like go do like really focused features.
Actually, like, what that brings to mind for me, she was just suggesting that, like, you can use environment to bring characters together, not necessarily classes. And really, I think, from my experience, you can take any character class and make it work. Like, when we played the Marvel game, I wanted to play a fire-based character. I was in a part of my fire. I really just wanted to blow everything up.
And I was playing a character that controlled paper.
And then we found a way to make that story work. And we, well, how about what if we do this? And then we ended up with having a really fun character combination. It's like you can find creative ways to work with pretty much any combination.
And the
And
cool
have
part
fun.
is it made for some very interesting combat. Because is I'd like cover somebody's face with paper and she'd set it on fire.
Like, I did not actually mean for you to do that. We weren't trying to kill him. I thought you wanted me to set it on fire.
I was trying to
Because it's
blind
fun,
them,
too.
she'd burn them alive. That was not what we expected. So yeah, so it's fun actually to see what weird combinations you can get to.
I mean, really, it's about having fun, at least as far as we're concerned, and you can do that creatively with almost anything you want to do.
Other questions?
Going back to the topic of like favoritism and stuff, as a DM, how would you deal with like favoritism among players? Like if you have that fighter healer combo as a couple, and you're fighting like a dragon or something like that, and the healer uses like always tends to use the ones per day great heal
On their, yeah, so like, yes, that's a great question. So how can you manage a little bit of favoritism when you're the DM and you're playing with the couple? So, I mean, because it does make an interesting dynamic. So when we play a healer fighter or a healer wizard or something like that, and it would make more sense logically in the game for her to heal someone else, but I'm a little wounded.
Actually, no, that was usually my excuse to just let him die when I was annoyed.
There was a little bit of that in there too, yes. So
There were times where I was kind of bitter about being stuck in the healer role.
yeah. There was, but this is a real challenge, and it's one that, you know, at the same time, of course, they're going to be more emotionally attached if they're playing a couple, you know, and so it's within character for them to be more concerned about one another and to show that kind of favoritism. So that is in character, but at the same time, is it disrupting the rest of the gameplay? And here's the question I've got to ask: is favoritism a bad thing?
In that case, well, I mean, that's with players showing favoritism to other players,
Yeah.
not necessarily the game master showing favoritism to a player. That can be awkward, I think, for the other players, because actually that's kind of where we highlighted it gives you more investment in each other's characters earlier, because yeah, you're going to want to protect that other person a little more than maybe the other players. That makes it more realistic, but not necessarily more fun for the others. Because if you think about it, if you have a significant other, you're going to do things for them before you do it for anyone else. But
I don't have an answer for this. Anybody?
communication,
Communication
is a great
What's the
answer for everything.
Everything, practically. I studied. Yeah.
I was gonna say, communicate with your GM, and if like your healer only wants to heal their girlfriend or girlfriend or whoever, like maybe that's stop them from anything wrong.
Okay, so having the GM provide supplemental healing, if that's what's missing, throwing in another healer, like an NPC healer that joins the party for a little bit, might be another way to get around it.
Yeah, actually dropping some extra magical items that the rest of the party could use for heals when they need it.
And that's a cool thing.
That way the couple can keep playing the way they want to play and having fun, and it's not hurting their other players.
Another cool thing about co-DM we really didn't address is that when you have an absent player, one of the DMs can stand in for that player.
Or take up a role.
Or take up a
need
role
for an
where
NPC,
needed.
And it's
That's-
not distracting the primary DM.
And that's really cool, so that, you know, so the DM can, so the primary DM or whoever takes that DMing at that time can focus on the game, and then you have somebody else who's like, I'll control this character, I'll make sure everyone's healed. Because you can't really play a game largely without healers.
Yeah, we tried that
We
last
tried
time.
it.
Both of our healers didn't show up, and they didn't have one, and it did not go well.
That was the last game we played, actually, which is why they got captured.
Yeah.
Because they were out of everything, they're just like dead. You know? All right, we give up.
We have to rest, and then of course, because the enemies knew they were there, they got surrounded and taken. Yeah.
Yeah. In that game, she's letting me control the villains, and so they're not stupid villains.
That's actually been another dynamic we've had fun with. So we create this high priest or, cult leader. I'm like, well, they know they're there. They're going to be doing things in response to the way the PCs act. And that may be a bit much for a lot of DMs to manage, but because there's two of us, I can go, hey, this is what they know. You come up with a strategy. Are they going to set up an ambush over here? We can adjust the game and make it more dynamic as we go.
Which is challenging and can be frustrating. But at the same time, I think they still had a lot of fun getting captured because they blew up everything. Our party's really into collateral damage. That's their thing. if they're not destroying at least 2 or 3 buildings a game session, they're not happy. You know?
Yeah. Take the dungeon down with them.
Take the.
It's not about the load-bearing boss.
It's the load-bearing party. You know? Okay. Wow. We have gone over. Is there another group? Pam, come again.
At one, I think.
Okay, so we still got a few more minutes. We can sneak in a couple more questions here. So we got a question right there. Yes.
So, I'm gonna throw myself out there because I've been struggling with something. And I'd like to get perspective from in the room or up on stage.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun in the game we're playing. It's currently the longest game I've ever played. It's the only D&D game I'm playing right now. And so when something happens and we have a week or 2 weeks between game sessions, I love talking over the 2-3 hours of gameplay for a week or 2 weeks and drive my significant other crazy reliving 2 minutes of gameplay for hours upon hours. So I just wanted to get suggestions if anyone else has done this and driven their partner crazy. Like, what's another outlet? I've thought about trying to find a group locally. So this is all online. So it's also, she's the only person in person I can talk to. I thought about finding maybe another group so I have other outlets. But I don't want to stop. Like, I actually really enjoy that meta conversation, after action, thinking about it, becoming better as a player, technically and role play wise. So I'd like to get your perspective.
So, yeah, D&D is not a short game. It is not. You're spending at least a couple hours on that sucker. And so it does tend to be a long game, which is good and negative. And it also tends to, especially if you're adulting, it's going to be a week or 2 before you're actually can play again. I have some friends, they play every Friday. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. There are times I got to do other stuff too, but it's adulting. But at the same time, so the question here, and this is, I think, I'm going to go to the floor here, is he's really engaged in the game and he really wants to talk about the game, and his partner here is a little tired of talking about the game.
She's also a DMing, so she's also got her own.
I have other stuff to do.
And so can we give him another outlet with some
Yeah,
way
so-
of expressing the enjoyment of the game, but also rehashing it or talking over it, debriefing it, so to speak?
Well, let me ask you something. Is this something that the other players are interested in doing too?
Yes and no. I mean, it's all through chat, and we're all 30-something people with jobs. And I have Slack jobs, so I'm texting in the middle of the day, like a high schooler.
Well, the reason I ask is because I played a game like that, where literally at the end of the session, we're like, we gotta talk this out. And what we developed was literally a separate channel, which is, if you're in Discord, it'd be like the OOC channel or whatever, where we literally, and because this is back in the days before Discord, it was actually email, and we would literally hammer each other with email and hash things out. In some cases, write fanfiction about our characters and share it with each other. So, there's that one thing is, that's why I was offering that is, unless you feel like you're just going to bore the hell out of the other players by going, hey, what did you think about this one? That might be available because there are people who at least know what happened and you might be able to share information.
So, my main advice is maybe join some other games. Because sometimes, if you're only playing one, that can be very dominating. But having a couple of other games can really split your attention a little bit, but also give you another outlet. Because it sounds like what you want is you need more role-playing outlet. So maybe another game is in mind. And there are lots of places where you can play online, or where you can run 2 groups and run one week, one another week, or that kind of thing, or host it.
That could be a local option.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also hearing that I might try this is change the mode of communication. So the other thing is we have a dog, we spend a lot of hours walking, so it's meandering about mindless conversation with that. But moving it to email is actually slowing down the conversation, it's not as distracting, and maybe just changing up how I'm focusing that energy would also be
Yeah, the whole idea is that.
I agree.
Yes, definitely. Well, okay, you have a comment?
Yeah, what I was gonna suggest is kind of related. Have you considered doing stuff role-playing as your character on your own? Especially since the GM is your partner, you might be able to like get their blessing on that, just like write journal
No, she's
entries.
GM in a different game, not this game.
Then I would, yeah, that doesn't work quite as well, but I was gonna say like you could write like journal entries. Or like maybe like think out vignettes or something like that. And just be like, yeah, so they're like going to their store, for example. And just be like, okay, well what did they get? And it's that's about it. But, you know, like lay out like your characters in a world and like what they do on their own. And then when you go back to your table, you'll have a more complete like idea of what your character is like on their own.
No, I think it kind of builds on that, like, kind of looking after action, like, these are my thoughts, these are what I've been doing.
So I think these are great conversations. Keep having them. And I hope you all enjoyed this panel. Thank you so much for coming. On our website, you can find us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and all those other fun little social medias. And we would be happy to talk with you afterwards if you have some specific comments, suggestions, or just want to tell us your story. So we're open for that too. All right, thank you all.